everybody, and welcome to a totally killer wild ride with Steve-O. If you've listened to this podcast at all, odds are you've heard me rave about how much I love true crime. And my favorite television show is The First 48. It follows homicide detectives as they investigate cases. And man, I was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I got in touch with the lieutenant of the homicide division of Tulsa, Oklahoma. These guys work pretty much exclusively in front of the cameras of the A&E network, always recording the show. The cameramen and women are on call just like the homicide detectives are. And man, this was such a humongous treat for me. I learned so much that I didn't know. And man, I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the universe, I bring to you an actual American hero, the lieutenant of the Tulsa Homicide Unit and star of the First 48 TV show, Brandon Watkins.
Thanks. I don't know about hero, but I'll take it.
Well, I mean, heroes save lives. I guess you're not saving lives. You're catching killers.
We're coming in. They're already dead once we get there, so unfortunately.
Right. Now, thank you so much for doing this. I'm a rabid fan of true crime. I've literally been watching The First 48 for all 21 years now. I mean, it came out in 2004. It's been 20 years of this TV show. How long have you been in the force?
Oh, I've been on the force. It'll be 28 years in July. So, and I've been in the homicide unit since 2018.
Since 2018. Okay. And Tulsa was already like very well represented by that time. I mean,
yeah, they started with us, I want to say in 2016 or 2015.
Oh, wow.
And then, yeah, obviously Dave Walker was the sergeant of the unit before me.
Right.
And then I took over for Dave when he retired. And I've been on it since August of 2018.
Is there a reason why Tulsa, Oklahoma is so, like, I'd say ridiculously overrepresented on the First 48? Maybe not overrepresented, but you guys dominate the show. The lion's share of the episodes are in Tulsa.
Yeah, they have followed us longer than any other city that they've been in. I think we have the most number of cases that have been on the show. We took that over last year, or year before last, from Miami, who was the first place on it.
So. The OG. We were just talking about Joe Shalacy.
Yeah,
Shout out to him, man. What a legend. And notable that Tulsa, Oklahoma, Tulsa Homicide has the longest running, most successful, like, caught every bad guy for the last full year and a half.
Yeah, we're going on. We're getting pretty close to 2 years since we've had an unsolved, and so we're running on a hot streak right now, and hopefully we can keep it going.
Yeah, it's incredible. So when I'm here in Tulsa on tour, obviously. Like I got here and all I wanted to talk about was the First 48 because I love it so much. I was at the news station, doing a segment to promote my tour, and brought up you guys. And they said, "Oh yeah, we know those guys." And so the news station put us in contact, and it a little bit surprised me that you were open to being on a podcast.
You know, it being on the show, we get a lot of people who call us and want us on podcasts or want to talk to us. Always happy to do that. I mean, it's. I don't know that we're any more interesting. What we do is interesting, but we don't mind. We enjoy talking to people.
I think it's great, and I can qualify, my comment. It would seem on some level, and just the conversation that we had before recording, when you gave me the epic tour of the actual department, I would have kind of guessed that being on television would represent a hindrance to the job that you're trying to do at times. And you explained that it's actually very helpful.
It's been super helpful to us. It's hard to, we have other agencies call us because they're thinking about being on the first 48. And, we tell them, no, this has been nothing but a help to us. I mean, I don't think they quite believe us. But I've been on so many scenes where people who normally would not talk to police, they don't like police, their experience with police have been bad. They know us. They see us. They've seen us on television. They know we care. They know that we're going to treat them with some respect. And, man, people talk to us, which I think it's that familiarity that they get from watching the show. They know us, and they know we'll treat them fairly.
Right. I mean, take it a step further than that. It's not just that they don't like police. They've had bad experiences. They've been, like, raised. It's been conditioned, like, ingrained in them. Like, police are bad. Do not snitch. This, like it's more than that. It's like a whole culture.
Absolutely. And, you are battling that everywhere that you go. And you have to realize that their experiences are real. Whether,
Well, I mean, a lot of people have had no experience with the police, but they've just been taught that, that they understand that's the code of the streets. You don't talk to the cops.
Exactly. And, the whole no snitch culture thing, it does exist out there. We just haven't experienced it quite so much here in Tulsa, and I think it's partly due to the fact that we are fair with people. We're honest with people, and we'll tell them, good or bad, what's going to happen and how it's going to happen, and they listen to us and they take what we have to say to heart. And man, that's one of the things that the people on the show, that they've been to like New Orleans and they filmed in other municipalities. They go, well, Tulsa just talks. People in Tulsa talk. And I think it's partly just due to the fact that they know us. We're like a member of the family when we walk in.
Right. But I mean, that would seem to follow though in anywhere that the show is represented.
I would think so. Now, I don't know how other municipalities have had it in the past, or whether or not people like them the way they like us.
I think that I feel like for some reason Louisiana, like New Orleans, has a lot more challenges.
They have a lot more challenges, but talking to the people who have been down there, they're also dealing with institutional challenges within the department themselves.
Right.
Like our police chief is just great. If we need overtime, he just says work the overtime and they'll pay for it. Other places, once you hit your 8 hours, you go home and you come back and start on the murder again tomorrow. And it's hard to do. When you're running on a hot streak, you've got to get out there and hunt these leads down and, stay on it until you run out of stuff to do. And then you go home, get a couple hours sleep, come back in and start over again.
Am I hearing you correctly that they apply a 9 to 5 to murder?
That's what we've been told. Yeah. So
yeah, that sounds very counterproductive.
They just don't want to pay overtime because, overtime's expensive and they have their budgets. And so, it's understandable, but we're very fortunate in Tulsa that we have the support of the city.
It's amazing. I don't remember seeing it any other way than you guys just burn the candles at both ends when that's what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, just this last weekend, we had 3 murders in very short succession. And, we have a rotation where different detectives will come in and be the lead on it, and then they have their backers. And then a supervisor will come in and work all 3. I ended up running all 3 because, I was already there. There was no point in waking somebody else up. And, I'm 55 now. I don't recover the way I used to recover, from staying up for 24 to 48 hours.
Right. So. Yeah, I'm with you, man. It's tough. I only just heard that there's a policy with the A&E network, the producing the show, that they will only release an episode with the blessing of the family members of the victim.
Yes.
That's crazy to me.
Well,
does that does that mean that they won't even edit the show, because a lot goes into the post production?
Right.
So they're not going to even get into the post production without the blessing.
Right. What happens, or they'll call me first if we have a murder, and I will notify everybody they have to notify, get the detective started, and then I'll notify the photogs who go out with us. They will go, they'll cover everything, and they'll run with us for 2 or 3 days. And then if the family goes, yeah, we're not going to sign that, they just get rid of all the work that they've done for the last couple of days. We've had some really interesting murders that would make incredible episodes, but the family just won't sign off on it. So, they'll never see the light of day.
Man, it's, I hope some families can see this and hear like what a net positive it's been for justice, this show.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And a lot of the families are very happy with the episodes once they're out there. But, I get it. They don't want to relive the trauma of their family member being killed every, 6 months when they turn on A&E and the show's on repeat.
Right.
And I understand that.
Right. Yeah. Any one victim can potentially have so many different family members.
Right.
Does it have to be a unilateral approval across every single family member?
I'm not exactly sure what their full policy is, but they try to get whoever the closest family
Next
member,
of kin
next of kin, like a wife who might sign off, but the parents don't want it. They may not show it then.
Next of kin trumps a cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I've just got so many questions, man. First one, and I've always been just itching for the opportunity to be able to ask this. You hear it time and time again, so many times that people in your line of work will describe an unmistakably distinct smell of decomposition of a human body, and it seems that they're describing the smell of a decomposing human body as having a different stench than the odor of, a raccoon that died.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. My ex-wife's family, they moved into a house out in Shawnee, Oklahoma, and I walked in there and it was like, it hit me. I'm like, oh no, somebody died in here. And it'd been down for a while.
And a person is distinct from an animal.
It's just different. It just hits you different. Now, when I got COVID the first time, my sense of smell went away. I can still imagine the smell whenever I'm standing in there. I can't smell anything.
But so you still don't have a sense of smell?
I still don't have it. It never came back.
Wow.
And I'm not complaining. I don't mind that. So.
I mean, in your line of work, that's probably a little bit cool.
Yeah, I don't. When I walk in and I know that it's a bad one, it doesn't hurt my feelings that I can't smell it.
Man, that's crazy. No sense of smell. Do you have any other lasting deficiencies from COVID?
From COVID, no. Doing this job, it's probably a little bit like what you've done in the past. Your body just gets wrecked. I'm going to have a knee replacement here pretty soon.
Oh, man, wow.
And just all from the dumb stuff that I've done over the years, doing this for a living.
And, right when we first met, you were saying how, in the department, there's, a bunch of fans of Jackass. And, I'm such a fan of what you guys do. And we were talking about that there's an overlap in the appeal of our art, and I attribute that to people just being genuinely compelled by the misfortune of others. I think that's the phenomenon driving all of the traffic jams when there's an accident. Even grandmas are slowing down to ogle at the destruction and the carnage.
Yeah.
People just love. I think it's because we have this self-preservation, this survival instinct, and so we're just fascinated by anything that represents a challenge to it. And it's interesting because here we're entertaining people with the worst stuff.
Well, I know it's one of those things that you meet people and they go, "Oh, I love what you do." I'm like, "What I do is horrible."
Bringing closure, bringing justice to family members, and we absolutely love what you do.
Yeah, I get it. Hell, I grew up reading Sherlock Holmes books, and
That's great.
I love watching old detective shows and other stuff. That was that's what I was fed as a child, and I still love it. Now, I don't really watch the true crime stuff anymore. I try to get away from that.
I love it. I wonder what the hell's wrong with me sometimes. I just love it so much.
Well, that's my girlfriend. She loves it too. She watches all of it, and she, I'll sit down and watch something on Netflix with her and pop off with my expert opinion every now and then.
I love it.
No, I get the appeal of it. I just personally, I'd rather watch puppy dog videos and
That's great. I was thinking about when when I'm with like my guys, like once Jackass came out, like we were all like quite recognizable personalities, and for us to be trying to film anywhere in public, it's kind of represents an obstacle to try to actually get any work done when you're being recognized and all of the distractions. But for you guys to be recognizable personalities and trying to film and trying to actually like conduct investigations, like there's so much going on like all at once.
Yeah.
Like, is it, I just got to believe that the filming of the television show adds like multiple layers of complexity that make work more difficult. Pretty safe to say that added complexity is not what you want in your business. You want things to be simple and easy, and you want to keep costs down. And that's why Shipstation is the way to go with order fulfillment. When people buy goods from your website or your Amazon or your eBay or your Etsy, like, you got to ship those things. And Shipstation gets you the lowest rates and makes it the least complex, the most simple. And if you want to try it for free, you can get a free trial by going to shipstation.com/Stevo. Again, why add complexity when you're just trying to run e-commerce and be successful? The shortest distance between you and success is going to be Shipstation. So one more time, shipstation.com/Stevo for your free trial. Now let's get back to it.
It really doesn't. It's odd. You would think that. You'd think there's a camera in your face while you're trying to solve a murder. How you're just making things worse. You tend not to notice them.
I guess
they stay out of the way. They're filming stuff, and then something will slow down. You have a moment to kind of catch your breath, and then they'll show up and say, "Hey, can you tell us what's going on?" And that's when we do the kind of like talking to the thing. But they never bother us while we're in the heat of something.
So they're good at being flies on the wall.
Absolutely.
And my experience with television production is that like everyone's trying to produce you very actively and not being a fly on the wall.
And that's the thing. They don't produce you in this at all. What you see is genuinely what's happening. They take some stuff out in the post, obviously. There's a lot of things that you'll see it goes to the show. And, we were just laughing. We were watching a show that's going to come up here pretty soon. And in it, me and another detective were talking to the suspect, and we're kind of busting each other's balls while we're talking to the suspect and getting a confession because, and none of that made it, But, they take all that stuff out.
I think it seems evident that you guys really find a good balance of being able to joke around and have personalities and be like, even enjoy your job, like without being distasteful or disrespectful in any way. And like, that's it's a beautiful balance that you strike.
We're very, very lucky because we've got a really tight group of guys and gals. We've got Lacey Lansdowne wasn't here today, but she's our female detective in the squad. We're really close. It's a good group of people. We don't, do a whole lot off duty together, but when we're together, we have people throw temper tantrums. They get angry,
Sure.
I've thrown some stuff and yelled and screamed at people. And
sleep deprivation doesn't
Sleep
help.
deprivation will do that to you.
Yeah.
And, but everybody just kind of gets over it, and everybody's we're friendly. We a lot of banter. So we're really fortunate to have such a good group of people to work with.
Now, let me ask you this. The profession of a police officer is a notoriously, I won't say thankless, but you got school teachers, police officers, like firefighters, like people who do all this important work, and they're notoriously underpaid. And then on the other hand, you've got people in the entertainment industry that like are pretty well paid. And here you guys are in both situations at the same time. And I'm dying of curiosity to understand like the business of the TV show, The First 48. Like, you're not going to be appearing on camera as a cast member, a star of a TV show, without having some kind of a contract with the A&E network. Maybe you've got like entertainment lawyers, the whole thing. You've got like a career in entertainment, and I just wonder, like, like, feel free to not answer, of course, but like, does the income, the compensation that you get from the TV show, like, it's got to be like,
we don't get paid.
You don't get paid to be on the show?
No, we don't get anything.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
What?
No, we don't get paid anything.
I was thinking that you would be like I wouldn't be shocked if you guys were making more money from the TV show.
It would be nice, but no, we don't get paid. They treat it like journalism, so they're following a crime as it happens, but yeah, we don't get paid anything. So.
What if one of the detectives said, "Hey, you know what? I'm really not necessarily interested in being on this show."
We had that, and we had an older guy who was still in the squad when I came in, Mike Zanoni. Mike was not interested; he did not want to do it, and so other detectives kind of pick up the slack. They'll go and they'll do. They'll talk to the
but he
people.
Still worked.
Yeah, he still worked his cases. He still did his stuff, but he was on the the end of his career, and I think he just wasn't interested. And then, the last month or two, he suddenly became interested in it and started kind of cooperating a little more. So.
Oh, wow. But, man, I feel like I'm, on one hand, I feel like there's great integrity in that. But in equal measure, I feel like outraged on your behalf.
Well, none of us are outraged. I mean, it's just one of those things that we're just doing our job. We're just guys. I mean, you take us out of this unit, none of us are going to be on television.
You know what I would compare this to? Like the debate over whether athletes in collegiate sports should be compensated or not. They're on the same situation.
We're the NCAA.
They're on. Yeah, they're on TV. The games are televised, generating all kinds of ad revenues. But it's a big no to pay the players.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even though they're paying the players now.
Yeah, no, I saw that.
So why they start paying you guys now?
We're fine. I'm not really money motivated.
Right. Okay.
I make a living. I'm not going to ever be rich, and as long as I'm working here, I'm never going to be poor. So I don't. I've been poor. I grew up poor, and I know what that is, and I'm pretty happy with my circumstances right now. So
man, I respect that so much, and. Again, to me, like I'm torn on this. Like it makes sense. There's integrity in it, and it's also like, but you're,
Yeah. Again, we never even talk about it. It's just never one of those things that ever comes up.
Right.
We just we like the people that the First 48 has working with us. The people that you've met here.
Right.
We like them a lot, and I think we just do it for them.
Okay, but like I wonder. That's such a gift to the A&E network. I feel like they're money that would otherwise be going to the on-camera talent. I would hope there's some kind of an arrangement that like there's profit sharing with the department that it can actually go to.
I don't think so. I don't think there is.
A&E's getting away with murder. Getting away with murder.
I can't really answer to all that, but
okay.
I just was,
Hey man,
it doesn't bother us.
Enough said. Enough said. Okay, so I've jotted down some stuff here. My buddy Tanner, who you met, he's right here. We were talking about this show, The First 48, and he's like, man, it drives me crazy because if you see someone's blurred, they're not the guy, and that's the policy is that if somebody's a suspect, they lose their right to have their identity concealed.
Right. They're going to be charged, so everything there is open records. They're going to go stand trial for it and everything. But everybody else has to sign a waiver in order to be, or they blur them.
Right. Okay. Now, that, I suppose, requires for the, the court proceedings to have unfolded somewhat to determine if the person was charged. Like, like retroactively, if the case doesn't, if the DA rejects the case, then all of a sudden the blur's back.
Well, it takes. No, they would never show that. They would never show an episode if the person's not charged. They would take it out.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, sometimes they show an episode where it's just not solved, and it ends with if you've got tips, call this number.
Right. But if we've arrested somebody and the DA would say, no, you don't have enough, you shouldn't have arrested him, and kicks him free, then that episode would never show.
Right.
And that's unless we arrested them again later on.
It's probably a pretty rare occurrence, too.
Hasn't happened to us, but it's possible. This last week, we had a guy who was found innocent of the murder, but was found guilty on a lesser charge. And they probably won't show that episode that they had pretty much had ready to go. So
wow, okay. One thing that stands out to me in all of these murder investigations that I watch is that if you've got the person that say pulled the trigger, but they were with another person who didn't pull the trigger, but that person generally just by being associated with it catches the equal first-degree murder charge.
Yeah.
And in some cases, that makes a lot of sense. In some cases, it seems like, ooh, first-degree murder for the guy who didn't pull the trigger. Like, can we have any more nuance to the the laws with respect to having somebody catch the full first-degree murder charge when they weren't the trigger man?
It all depends on what they did after the fact. Now, if they didn't pull the trigger, but they did everything under the sun to help this person get away with it, yeah, they're going to catch a charge. If they went out, they didn't exactly come to us, but when we got it, we found them, said, hey, you were there, you saw this, and they go, yeah, we were, and they were honest. They're probably going to be treated like a witness. Now, if they go out, they help the person do everything, and then they come straight to us, yeah, they're 100% a witness. They're not going to get solved. They're not going to get charged.
Yeah, you were telling me that in the station, that when if somebody like is the getaway driver, even like helps the murderer like dispose of the body, like bury it in a shallow grave, like that the rationale is that they're very likely in fear for their own life. They're complying with all of the cover-up, efforts, like out of like legitimate fear. And if they get done, and as soon as they're to safety and can go to the police, and they do, then they're
absolutely, because. You can make a strong argument. This guy has already killed one person. I was afraid he was going to kill me too.
Right.
I understand that. You did everything you could to survive, and then you came straight to the police. That's a good citizen.
What if it? I mean, God, it just feels like that just gets really blurry. If there's If they were involved, like when the murder was happening, even beforehand, like if there was like an abduction, initially.
Well, there's been times where somebody was involved in the pre-planning and then it went bad and somebody got killed. And, they come to us afterwards. Yeah, you're still being treated as a witness. Now, there's a possibility, it depends. If you were also cranking off rounds at him and he accidentally got hit, yeah, you're probably still going to go for the murder on that. But there's actually a lot of nuance there.
A ton. Like, say, for example, it's so frequent that they're planning to go rob somebody. Like we're going to go knock off this dealer. We're going to take all their money and their stuff. And in the commission of that robbery, a murder happens. Everybody who planned the robbery goes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what if one of the planners of that robbery comes and says, hey, this happened, and
he's probably going to get arrested. Realistically, what's going to happen is the district attorney is going to talk to their attorney, and there'll be some consideration.
So but
that all happens outside of us.
That's a cooperation factor.
Right. Exactly.
And wow. It's crazy. See, and going back to with the snitching, the cooperating. The people who would never talk to the cops, they're like, oh, no way, I know this guy from TV. And so they'll...
Yeah, it's the damnedest thing. Like I said, I've been on multiple homicide scenes where we're in an area where traditionally they have always hated police, and they're yelling at officers, and they're I mean, it's a scene that's gone bad, and you look out in the crowd and you see one person kind of standing at the back giving you the head nod, and send a detective over there. They know us, they talk to us, and they'll talk to us somewhere else and let us know what's going on. They may not want to testify on that later, but they want to give us the information. And I think we're in a unique situation, having had the First 48 follow us for so long, that people know that they can trust us.
Yeah, it's amazing. Okay, let me ask you this. With the First 48's been showing interrogation room footage for a full 20 years. And now there's so many different true crime channels and some true crime channels on YouTube that are absolutely stellar. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of this content that's being pumped out in the true crime genre is just so impressive and so compelling. With all of the interrogation room content, going out to the public, like, are more people getting the understanding to just shut up and ask for a lawyer, or is that just something they're never going to get?
I don't know, because we get a lot of people who lawyer up. We come in, we read a Miranda, and they say, I want to talk to my lawyer. But it really doesn't happen as often as you think that it probably would otherwise. But Miranda has just been ubiquitous across the United since the 70s. I mean, every cop show you've ever watched has Miranda, to the point that I think anybody can recite it better than we can. They know it, and yet people still talk. Sometimes guilty suspects talk to us because they want to find out what we know. They're doing a fishing expedition too, and you see this kind of cat and mouse thing going on in an interrogation where the detective's trying to pull the information out of the suspect's trying to pull the information out of the detective, and sometimes it's fun to watch and seeing who's going to win that battle.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's always us. But I mean, we do it a lot more than they do. But you can see a suspect trying to find things out, just trying to figure out what we know, and then we'll let something drop, and then they'll change their story in order to fit, and that's when you've got them.
Right. Well, right. I mean, once they commit themselves to a story, changing it's like not going to work so well. Now, let me tell you about a change you can make that will absolutely work out well for you, because it's all about dropping a bad habit and replacing it with a good habit. It's called Fume. It's a diffusive device which flavors air and helps you walk away from a filthy habit that you're ashamed of and successfully change for the better. If you want to try one of these incredible diffusive devices, which I just love to use, you go to tryfume.com/Stevo and use the promo code Stevo. Plus, if you do that, you're going to get a free gift as well. Again, it is tryfume.com/Stevo. That's tryfum.com/Stevo, and use the promo code Stevo. That long overdue breakup, it's time. Now let's get back to it. The different tactics that get used. I mean, some of the things that I hear in all these interrogations, like, you always hear, I don't think you're a monster. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think you're a bad guy. I think it just something got out of hand, and like you appeal to the suspect, to appeal to them to confess by suggesting that it's in their interest to explain how something just got a little bit out of hand, that they didn't intend for it, but it's like, hey, you're gonna be it's evident that you're responsible for this. Everybody's gonna know that you're responsible for this. It's the question of, are you a monster or did something get out of hand? And that's like kind of a way to creep into, oh well, yeah, no, I'm not a monster, and then that's a very effective tactic.
It is. It's one of those things that, and you get this idea that we hate the bad guys. We're slamming phone books down and throwing fists, but most of the time you like these guys. I mean, yeah,
I
they
don't know
just
about
killed
most
somebody.
of the time.
Most of the time. Realistically, we have met so many people who have shot somebody that you go, I like that dude. You know, they walk
Yeah.
away and you genuinely, I would go have a beer with them. And, you know, they're not outside of this big mistake that they just made. And it really is in their best interest to reach out and kind of make themselves seem human, make themselves seem sorry for what happened.
Right.
But yeah, you clam up and you want to act hard and you want to act like, you know, hey, I'm not going to talk to you because, you know, we've had people say, I'm glad I killed him. You know, I killed that dude. I'm glad I killed him. That's kind of a monstrous statement to make. You know, it's difficult to kill somebody. It's not something most people can do. There's a great book called On Killing, which kind of goes through the whole psychology and how even for soldiers in war, it's incredibly difficult to kill somebody. So when somebody makes that jump and does that, they've crossed a line that is monstrous in and of itself, but the person themselves, they're not monsters.
It's so interesting, man. Like it's a completely unrelated point, but I've felt that if you had to get a license to eat meat, and like what to become licensed to eat meat, you had to actually kill the animal. I think we'd have a lot more vegetarians.
Oh, 100%. I used to hunt. You know, in Oklahoma, that's just what you do.
Sure.
I am at a point now in my life, I don't want to be the cause of death for anything.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I squashed a spider in my car the other day and felt guilty about it.
Right.
You know, I'm not a Janus, but I'm getting close to it. I'm all about peace and love now.
I respect hunters a lot more because they do go and they are willing to kill the thing. You know, it's the tough part is when people just they don't want to know, like just they like, you know.
Yeah.
They don't want to consider what's on their plate.
Yeah.
And that's not to, like, you know, shame people or anything. It's just an interesting thing that popped in my head when you said that it's difficult to kill.
Yeah. I would totally be behind not eating meat for ethical reasons. I completely understand that and would get a bit, boy, I sure like hamburgers. So it's.
You know what? I eat seafood and that's it.
Love seafood too.
Yeah. Oh man, dude, love seafood. Okay, so now with in the interrogation room, there's more tactics. Like you know, this is your opportunity. You know, I mean, I suppose that kind of fits in with the, you know, like you don't want people to think you're a monster, but like let me take this from a different angle. And I almost don't want to say this, but I'm just like, I find it so fascinating. The reality is that if you've got everything that you need for the charge, then you're not in the interrogation room, right? Like,
no, not really. Most of the time, by the time we bring them in there, we've got enough. I mean, we're well past it. We just. We're like everybody else. We want to know the whole story. I mean, we could make the arrest. We could charge him, book you in, and never talk to you.
Well, right. I guess you're just strengthening your case.
We're strengthening our case, but we're also, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody wants to know why. And that's the thing that keeps you awake at night. When you see somebody die and you're investigating it and it seems so senseless and you can't figure out why the hell this happened. You know who did it. You know what they did it with. You know everything but the why. I mean, we're storytelling creatures. We want to know that part of the story. It's an important part of the story, and part of it's part of curiosity, and part of it's strengthening our case, and part of it's we want to be able to answer a jury. And if you had a good reason for why you committed this murder,
then here's your opportunity to tell
Here's your opportunity to tell it, and you're not going to get another opportunity unless you sit on the stand and testify in your own defense.
Wow, I wonder about it. Does that make sense? Like, you're not going to get another opportunity. What if, wow, that's really interesting. So the person that speaks with you waives their right to an attorney, waives their right to be silent, goes ahead and speaks with you, says more than they should have, or whatever, just goes ahead and strengthens the case against them. Then when the interrogation's over, they go back to their cell, and then presumably they're appointed an attorney or they hire an attorney. Can that attorney not reach out to you guys and get into. I guess there's no point in that.
Well, they can. They can. I mean, we've had attorneys tell their clients, "Don't talk. Don't say a word." And we have no choice. We end up arresting. We suspect there might be like a self-defense element to this murder.
Right.
And the attorney basically talks them into getting charged. And then, 5 days later, the attorney hears the story and goes, "Oh, we need to go back and talk to the police on this." Well, now it's too late. I mean, they can talk to us, and then they can work something out with the district attorney later on. But yeah, getting that, if you committed a self-defense, you need to talk about that as quickly as you can and talk to us about it.
Right.
Because, some attorneys just start out with don't talk, never talk to the police, don't do it. Well, you may just talk yourself into getting or not talk yourself into getting a charge. Whereas otherwise we kind of get it. We understand it. We see what's going on, but we don't have the why, and we don't understand, there's so many, there's so many nuances in the way this could go.
Yeah. So you could not talk yourself into getting a charge.
It's happened.
And why would it be too late? Like, let's say, 5 days, they're 5 days later, then the attorney hears the story. He says, "Oh, no, now we got to talk to him."
Well, now you're charged and you have to go. I mean, you're in the system now.
Right.
Whereas before, if you have a good excuse and it was a self-defense or there was some kind of, we're not going to charge you tonight. You're free to go home.
Yeah.
And then we'll go and we'll talk to the district attorney later, present them with what they have, and they'll make the determination whether to charge or not charge. But it's very rare that they disagree. Yeah, it's out of our hands.
Right. And so it's entirely up to you whether the charge is filed and what the charge is filed with the DA.
Yeah. Well, a judge is going to have to determine if we made a mistake or not. We book them in here, and the judge reads our probable cause affidavit, and they go, "There's not enough here to charge." They could kick them loose then. But again, we're not going to book you in unless we have it.
Right.
I mean, we've got the goods. If we put the handcuffs on, we've got the goods.
Yeah. There's some the beginning of every episode, I think, says sometimes charges are reduced or dropped. Mm-hmm. And then you find out the resolution at the end of the case, typically with the text on the screen saying this person, pleaded guilty to such and such. So what they were saying, it's so great to find out what happened.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a really strong case for the presence of the cameras, the transparency of the show, to really demonstrate that that there's not false convictions going on.
Yeah, no, I mean that's something that it scares you to death, the idea that you may send somebody who is innocent to prison on a murder, because you can't take that back. We've made arrests where we find out like the next day or the day after, and we go, oh man, we just arrested the wrong guy, and we'll go down, we'll make that right. You jump on it right. You don't. That's how you become a Netflix documentary. You've decided that this is the person who did it, and you're just going to stick with that and hide evidence and do all kinds of shady crap. And no, we won't. I mean, I can only think of once where we arrested the wrong person, and there was every reason to arrest him. I mean, the probable cause was there. We just found exculpatory evidence later. And we tried to make it right as quickly as we possibly could.
Yeah, wow. I think that there are, certainly, like, if you think, like, once you get into the court proceedings, like, a defense attorney isn't supposed to represent a client that they believe is guilty, but it happens every day, right? Yeah. So the defense attorney's fighting like hell to free someone that they know damn well did it.
Well, a lot of times they know who did it, but what they want to do is play up the extenuating circumstances that were involved.
Right. They want to get their client off the,
Right.
So I think my point is, once you're in court, then, the prosecutor wants the conviction. Mm-hmm. The defense attorney wants to get him free. And at that point, it's just it's pure ego. It's pure like they want to win, like smash the opponent, victory. And I think that, like, what I'm hearing you say is that it gets very dangerous if that's the mentality in the interrogation room.
Yeah.
You want to have the right mentality no matter what room you're in, especially the bedroom. So head into the bedroom prepared to perform at your best by trying BlueChew tablets. It's something that helps men have better sex. And if you feel like you could use some help, then BlueChew tablets might be appropriate for you. I think that they're very helpful for me, but hey, I'm a 50-year-old guy. You know, people need help for all kinds of reasons, and BlueChew is there. Plus, you can get an entire month's supply of BlueChew tablets completely for free. You just pay $5 for shipping. And to get that deal, you go to BlueChew.com and use the promo code STEVO. Yeah, dude. It's that simple, man, and it could be very helpful. So one more time, BlueChew.com for an entire month's supply of BlueChew tablets, totally for free. All you pay is $5 for shipping. Now, let's ride this baby all the way home.
Well, in the investigation especially, if you have decided that you're the greatest detective who ever lived, and it drives me nuts to see people who think that they're the modern incarnation of Sherlock Holmes and they can see stuff that nobody else can see. And they start theorizing on what happened and they get locked in on one person who's a suspect. That is one of the great things about our unit is that, man, people argue. I mean, we will tell you, you are wrong. You are on the wrong path. And, you know, you don't want somebody whose ego is so tied up in being right and getting it perfect that they won't listen to reason and they won't look at the evidence that tells them otherwise. And we're very, very fortunate that we don't have that.
Yeah. It's like I said in the unit, in your work, there's really no such thing as too many chefs in the kitchen. You know, like too many chefs in the interrogation room, yeah. But you've got that great video feed where outside of the interrogation, the whole unit is crowded around the TV, watching the interview unfold, texting questions, ask him this and ask him that. And like the more collaboration, the more like people involved, like the better.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been one of the great things that you know, we also have a civilian crime analyst. Margot Hain-Bell, she's on a lot of the episodes, but while Margot will be watching the interrogation going on and somebody says, you know, I know this guy as Joe. That's all I know him as is Joe. She's running every Joe that he could possibly know and checking out all the feeds, and she comes up and we'll be able to push the picture over or show him a picture and say, is this Joe? And they'll go, oh yeah. You know, Margot's like this. She's amazing at finding information really, really quickly. And, you know, she's a civilian. She, I think, was an electrical engineer before she came on, and she's a hell of a detective. I mean, she's really finding stuff that I don't think we could find otherwise.
Which brings up the point that social media has been such a gift to law enforcement.
It really has.
Like, every single person seems to be an attention whore. Like, it used to be that, you know, with my video camera and my attention whoring, that I was unusual. And now everybody's doing it.
Yeah, it's, you know, when Facebook first kind of started, Facebook was solving so many crimes for us because we just get on Facebook. And now Facebook is, people have moved on to other stuff. But yeah, people create this document. I mean, we've had people post their murders on social media.
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
And you go, what the hell? Why would you do this? This doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But they do it. They put it out there and, you know, film themselves doing it and then brag about it later, all on social media. We have kids that rap about committing a murder that we're watching it, we're listening to it, and we're taking notes.
Man, like with social media and you know, people like posting so much that like just helps you track them down and identify them and charge them. And then on top of that, CCTV is so prolific. It's like impossible to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like everything in the digital age is so meticulously documented.
Yep.
Your cell phone GPS tells you where you are. Like,
yep.
It's so hard to get away with murder now.
Yeah, it really is. It's obviously, I mean, in Tulsa, we've had a 95% clearance rate for going back a decade now, 95% or better. And a lot of that is due to the fact that there's so many cameras that are out there that
Right.
everywhere you go and every place that you drive, you're getting picked up by
With
probably
DNA.
a personal camera, or you're leaving DNA at the scene.
DNA, like, store surveillance cameras, like CCTV in the street, like license plate readers on the highway. Like,
Yeah.
it's very hard to go anywhere without every movement being tracked. It calls to mind it's sort of a known saying, like, there's no such thing as a perfect crime. And I would agree with that, like, to the extent that if you've got, like, a real motive, that, like, you had reason to do it, like, you're the guy.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember this movie came out in, I think the 1980s, maybe it was the early 90s. It was called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Henry Riggins.
I'm trying to think of the actor. He's been in a million things. And
and that was just a bone-chilling, terrifying thing, because he was a serial killer who didn't want to be caught, so he killed only people he had no connection to whatsoever. Never killed anybody in the same way, so there was no MO to match one case to another. And just got away with like crazy. Man, I'm sure that was pure fiction. But another one comes to mind: the Washington D.C. snipers. Like, these guys were like shooting completely at random, right? There was nothing, totally random. They're hiding in the trunk of a car. The fact that those guys got caught is more incredible than anything.
Well, that's what makes serial killer scary, is that there is no tie. There's no reason. There's no why as to what.
Right.
Why this happened. We had two. One was, he fits the definition of a serial killer. And we had another one who, I'm pretty sure when everything is all shaken out, he's going to be a serial killer. But, we worked those cases here a few years ago, and they were tough because there was no reason for this happening.
Right.
There was no tie to any of the people that were killed, except for a group that a different county worked. And so, it basically took legwork and just a tremendous amount of,
right.
For 4 days, every single person in the unit was out knuckling doors, checking with businesses, trying to get video. And it took us forever, but he was found, or he pled guilty to the first one. I think there are more things coming on. I can't really talk about it,
sure,
in specifics, but those serial killers are tough. Because there's nothing tying them to this person.
Right.
And that's where every investigation gets tough.
Right. And with the serial killers, it's the MO that ties them the cases together. Like, so scary if they switch it up.
Well, we're looking at, our cold case. We kind of showed you all the 400 books that we have back there on the cold cases. We've got a series from the 1980s that we're looking at, and we're hoping that we've got a new machine that does DNA, that pulls DNA better than anything else that we've ever had, the MVAC.
That's the one where you scan it on the ground?
Well, no, that's something different. This MVAC is like a wet, dry vacuum that you spray on stuff, and it pulls DNA out of ridges and stuff and out of clothing better than anything else before that we've had. And sucks it to a filter. You take that filter and you check it for DNA. So we're going to be looking at these cases that, man, they have a lot of the similar MO. It's very serial killer-ish.
Right.
Don't know if they're all related or not, but we're looking at them like it is. And so, our hope is that this MVAC will help us kind of push that one forward and maybe get some resolution on quite a few murders.
Yeah. It's like, as a fan of true crime, like cold case stuff is less appealing to me because it drives me nuts. I want the bad guy to be caught,
Yeah.
And the cold case, I just think, oh, this piece of shit, like, just roamed around and had a great life for 30 years. Like, I just don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important for me to make that point because, like, that what I love so much about watching true crime, watching your guys' show, is the justice. You got the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm rooting for you guys to catch the bad guy. And I hate it I hate the cold case because they didn't get caught.
You know, the cold case ones bother me more than anything else for that exact same reason, but the inverse of it, I hate the idea that somebody got away with it.
Right.
That we don't know the end of that story.
Yep.
We don't have the why, we don't have the who, and you know,
no closure, and it's better late than never.
Being able to provide that answer, our cold case detective, he's solving a bunch of cold cases, but I probably get more phone calls from the public about those cold cases than all of our other cases combined, because people want to know what happened to my aunt back in 1985.
That's a big piece of it too. When you've got the loved one that just will not stop, the persistence.
Yeah, and you want to give them some closure. I mean, you want to give them that answer before they die, but you want to, and it rankles me that we can't get that. And our hope is that, with the DNA advancements that have happened, genetic genealogy.
Oh my God! This is the genetic genealogy where you take the DNA sample. There's no match in the CODIS system, but just based on that DNA sample, you've got computer technology that can generate an image of what that person looks like.
Yeah, I've just finished a genetic genealogy course through Boston University, and our hope is that we're going to be able to work with some of the labs and be able to start using that as a way of maybe identifying some of our cold case suspects. So we're all in on that right now. So
technology is incredible.
It really is, and the advancements that are being made right now. Since I've been on the department in 30 years, we've gone. It's a whole new ball game right now. Then I don't know how they solved murders 30 years ago.
Right.
It seems so difficult and just this impossible task.
30 years ago, you're saying pre-DNA.
It was the early stages of DNA. So they weren't as good as they are now. And there are new types of DNA testing that are available. And the genetic genealogy, I think, is just revolutionizing.
Sherlock Holmes had his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was looking at dirt on the shoe of a suspect, and we're looking at microscopic cells that are left behind in 1976.
Well, right, they just am I correct about this? That they just confirmed the identity of Jack the Ripper?
I think I read that too,
and that was from like the 1800s.
Yep. Well,
maybe it was the early 1900s, but a long fucking time ago.
Yeah. Well, the guy, when they were bringing the MVAC to us and kind of giving us a rundown, he was talking about a case from 1976 that they solved in like 2011, where they pulled DNA off of a stone, a paver stone, on the sides where the suspect had gripped it and used it as the weapon. And that's just fascinating to me. I am so hopeful that we're going to be able to get some cold cases solved with this.
Man. Did you see the Gilgo Beach? There's a Gilgo Beach serial killer.
No.
Just came out on Netflix. It's like a 2 or 3 part series. What about the one on Netflix called Into the Fire, the Lost Daughter? This was unbelievable. Woman got pregnant. She was like 17. Was convinced to give her baby up for adoption, and never heard another thing until there was, missing. She came to learn that her adopted daughter was missing, and she got all involved in trying to track it down. And like it was one of these persistent. Like this mother was like, that I'm gonna find out what happened to my daughter, and boy did she find out. And it's.
Oh, I'm gonna have to watch that.
It's up there with Don't Fuck with Cats.
Oh, well, that's one of my favorite ones that I've ever seen. So.
Into the Fire. I can't speak more highly enough about it. Man, I feel like while I still have you, like I don't want to be like, oh, why didn't I ask him that? What about? Have you ever been in situations when? Police, I don't know. I mean, probably not. But the idea of a police officer being on the other side of the law, like to be a police officer in prison.
Yes.
Like, wow, is that a tough one? I mean, that's right up there with being a predator.
Several years back when I was running the armed robbery unit, we did a long investigation on a police officer who was basically shaking down immigrants. And it took us several months.
Shaking them down for what? Like how?
Like pulling them over, taking their money. And,
okay.
And we worked that thing night and day for months and months and months, and we weren't getting sleep because we had to pretend with everybody else that there wasn't the super secret investigation that was going on. And ultimately, we got him. He ended up going to prison, and so yeah, it's one of those things. I've heard other people say it, and I think it's one of the truest things you can say about policing is that no one hates dirty cops more than
good cops. Yeah.
Just cops. I mean, you just hate the dirty cops, and it's actually really rewarding to catch a dirty cop and put him in jail.
Right.
That being said, a lot of times when people look at stuff, they think, "Oh, he's dirty," and well, no, he's just an asshole. He's not really dirty.
Right.
And
I think that there's a whole spectrum of like because there is sort of a stereotype of like a kind of guy who, wasn't popular in school, didn't get the girls, like, like maybe got bullied a little bit and like wants to like, wield power.
Yeah.
And that like seems to be a stereotype that manifests with some cops.
It's funny. I mean, we've got guys like John Brown and Mark Kennedy both played college football. I was a speech and debate nerd, and I became a journalist out of college and got bored with that and decided to do this. You've got this whole spectrum of guys that are in there, and we're just kind of dudes. I mean, we're just, we have our kids, we raise our kids, we're happy, we enjoy what we do, we enjoy each other, and if you talk to us, I think, not knowing who we were, I don't think any of our guys would say, I'm this or I'm that. That being said, there's those guys out there that are puffed up and they're, it just.
And that's not a dirty cop necessarily.
No, it's just an asshole. And, accountants have the same people.
Sure.
Everybody has it, but when a cop.
DMV people.
Exactly. But when a cop acts this way, it just, it gives the whole profession a black eye.
Sure.
And it drives us nuts.
Right. Another thing that comes to mind, particularly during the 2020 with that whole George Floyd situation, the subsequent Black Lives Matter movement. There was just the whole defund the police, and I've got a dear friend who's married to a cop. And at that time, he was like newly a cop, like maybe just came out of the police academy, and it was just like, like this friend of ours was just in such tremendous pain over like and in that, I had kind of a first person, like perspective on that pain of like, oh wow, like. And already, it's hard enough to be a cop to begin with. But in that, like, that defund the police movement and all that, like, extra heightened, like, hatred towards the police. I mean, I can't help but feel that, like, it got to a point where, like society's in danger, like we need police.
Yeah.
We have to have police. And if it becomes like so unattractive to become a police officer, like what happens next? Like that's scary.
Well, police departments across the country are having trouble bringing people recruiting. It's you go to any municipality, they're going to tell you, we're just not getting the recruits that we normally got.
now you're seeing police officers that are like super heavily tattooed, where that wouldn't have been okay in the past, but they just like, hey, you get some tattoos, you know what? Okay.
When I got on, nobody had tattoos. There were policies about if you had a tattoo on your arm, you had to wear a long sleeve shirt, even at the dead of summer, and it gets hot here in Oklahoma.
Right.
And
now it's like
everybody's sleeved up, and it's no big deal.
And I wonder if that's like just like tattoos became less of a big deal, or recruiting became more difficult.
I think tattoos became less of a big deal. It got to a point where, when I was young, tattoos, you knew if somebody had tattoos, that meant they went to prison, or, they were a sailor, or, it was, you just didn't really see a lot of people with tattoos. Now, my daughter's tatted up.
Yeah.
So, it's just what young people do nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, people tell me, like, a lot of times people will ask me, like, oh, sign my skin, I'm going to get it tattooed. My first question is, do you have any other tattoos? And if they don't, I say, I'm sorry, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's like giving someone their first cigarette. I don't want to do, like, I tell them, like, and let me urge you to not get your first tattoo, because at this point, I think it's cooler to not have them.
Yeah.
I reinforce that point by saying, if, I believe strongly, if you approached, like a group of people, survey this many people with tattoos and say I could wave a magic wand and automatically all of your tattoos will disappear if I do that, I think the overwhelming majority of people would say, fuck yeah, wave the wand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't really care why. I don't have any. That's more of a generational thing probably. Right. But yeah. It's just one of those things, people.
Right. I don't mind mine because it's like part of my deal.
You've got my favorite tattoo of all time, which is yourself on your back, which I think is genius.
It's fantastic. Man, okay, so I really feel strongly too that that like you've convinced me that the first 48, the show is genuinely a net positive. That you've got like more people talking to you guys, helping to solve crimes, like that relationship between the public and the police, especially for you guys, is lubricated.
I would say I'm not at all interested in being famous. I don't really particularly care about being wealthy. I'm not interested in any aspect about, being in entertainment or anything like that. If it didn't help us, I would be all about just get rid of it and we'll move on. But it has been such a net positive, and I've watched it in action so many times. And I watch how people interact with our guys. And, we had a suspect that we were talking to, and at the end of it, I was just sitting in there, kind of just shooting the shit with him at the end of the interrogation. And he goes, "Man, I saw you guys came into Freeway Cafe, and you I was in there, I was watching how you guys were together." And he goes, "Man, I really envy that. I wish that I could be part of a group like that." And you kind of realize, even when we're out, people see us, they see how we act, and it has been a positive. It has been one of those things that people see the genuine affection that we have for each other and the genuine concern that we have for victims and often even suspects. I mean, you just don't paint everybody with the same brush.
Right. I mean, it calls to mind too I remember like Dog the Bounty Hunter. He would finally catch the fugitive and he'd be like taking him, and he would have this like interaction with them where you become like endeared to the guy, or like, you have empathy, sympathy, and it's
you spend time with these guys. I mean, murderers and victims. I mean, the hardest thing that we do is tell a family that their loved one's dead,
right?
That has been murdered. Man, I tell you, I broke down bawling after you get back to your car and you just, it hits you and it hurts,
right? And it never gets easier.
It never gets easier. I mean, it never gets easier, and you get a real feel for people. If you don't have any empathy for the people that you're dealing with, and I'm talking suspects to victims, to families, you shouldn't do this job. You should do something else. And I mean, you look into the eyes of a family, you get motivated to solve this murder. You talk to a mother who's never going to be the same. You're motivated. You want to give them the why. And that's the main thing that you can offer them. You can't give them closure. You can never replace this person who's gone.
Right. Have you ever heard about somebody who was able to watch their episode in prison?
Oh, well, no, we have. Oh,
and I wanted to go ahead. Sorry.
Well, we heard about them in jail. They watched their episode. They watched it in jail. And we've had a couple of them realize, oh, they had me. They thought they were going to beat this rap.
Right,
and they realized everything that's going on. And they were like, maybe I'm not as innocent as I thought I was going to make people believe.
Which is probably good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you said something earlier that it sounded like you guys get episodes screened for you before they go out.
Right. We want to make sure that some stuff is in there. Like, we'll have undercover officers that help us out.
Right.
We want to make sure that they're not shown in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
We want to make sure there's not personal. They'll show like pictures of our screen while we're looking at somebody, and we want to make sure they block out this person's personal information. We don't want a social security number popping up, in international television. And so, we kind of get we say we don't really make any like, oh, I want you to put this in and take this out. We're not directors. Right. We just are able to go, you got this wrong. Here's what actually happened. And they go, oh, yeah, that's
it's
right.
It's more fact checking
exactly.
And liability.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Man, what an honor it is to be able to do this, dude. Like, I really think that I was going to ask you, like, the first thing I was going to say, like, why are you doing this? like, why would you do this? But I get it now. I get it.
It's this to me is the pinnacle of police work. People, when I was in patrol as a rookie, and shouldn't you be out there catching murderers and robbers? Well, now I'm catching murderers. So I spent 7 years catching robbers, and so
right.
This is what people want us to do. It's super rewarding in and of itself. Even if everybody's out there screaming and hate us and all that, I can go to bed at night knowing I did something positive for the world, and or at least Tulsa, Oklahoma, and that's, you don't get that in a lot of jobs. I'm very, very fortunate.
Right, man. Well, dude, I can't thank you enough, man. It's very rare that I'm in this situation doing that, and I think it's so important to me to not I've really, really enjoyed this, man.
Oh.
And I only even want to do this when I really want to do it, and I really wanted to do this. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate it, man. It's been fun. I like I said, I've been a huge fan of the whole Jackass crew for so many years.
Yeah.
And this is a treat for me.
Well, dude, Brandon Watkins. Yeah, dude. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah. I think it was very evident that I loved that podcast. I don't know that I've been more excited and just enjoyed it more. Have I ever, in the middle of a podcast, said, ooh, I want to be I really want to think and ask you while I've got you. I've never done that, man. God, I was just so happy. And what a great guy. Plus, Lieutenant Watkins and the detective with the bow tie, Matt Frazier, and Detective Jason White, them and a bunch of others from the unit came out to my show. And it was absolutely the best show I've ever had in a comedy club. I say that because my shows get better as I go. And, this show, even from previous shows, this is just an improvement across the board. And that it was electric in that comedy club. Thank you so much to the Tulsa Police Station, the homicide unit. Thank you to Tulsa. Thank you everywhere I've been. This has been a wonderful run, and I hope that you get to see this crash and burn show because it has gotten into very, very good shape. And yeah, man, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Woo!